I recognize the member from Beaches, East York.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And good evening, everyone. It's so great to be here in the evening. Had we sat more than 7 weeks in the last 7 months, we might not need to be in here. But I love being at Queen's Park representing beautiful Beaches, East York. So I'm honored to be here addressing the House again and representing my riding, beautiful Beaches, East York, today to speak on Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter, Act 2025. Bill 17 is an omnibus bill that affects the Building Code Act, Building Transit Faster Act, City of Toronto Act, Development Charges Act, Metrolinx Act, Ministry of Infrastructure Act, Planning Act, and the Transit-Oriented Communities Act. It proposes adjusting, delaying, and in certain cases eliminating development charges on various infrastructure, lifting certain restrictions that prohibit where schools and portables may be built, establishing preferential treatment for Canadian manufacturers and incentives for production of innovative materials, affecting the share and lifespan of inclusionary zone or housing, instituting new practices and methods of municipal reporting, permitting skirting public consultations and other previously standard procedures, eliminating the need to apply for approval of certain minor variances, limiting the amount and type of additional studies and reports that can be requested by municipalities, while centralizing decision-making power in the provincial government. Introducing requirements for reserve spending and negating incentive for developers and municipalities' authority to impose green development standards. Let's be clear. While this bill certainly proposes measures that I would support, notably expanding land that may be permitted for school development, removing restrictions pertaining to the zoning of portables to accommodate growing student populations, introducing digital reporting, approving 4-story townhomes, finally, and dropping development charges for nonprofit long-term care homes. When it comes to killing green standards, negating community consultation, and reducing maximum share of affordable residential units, as well as the maximum affordability period, I cannot stand behind it. We are certainly in a housing crisis, and I support moves toward the intensification of housing development. My rock-solid track record on housing as a Toronto City Councillor proves this, as I was always a yes in my backyard leader. And while the bill offers some viable programs for the intensification of residential development, it continues to villainize the wrong culprits for housing unaffordability and shortage, despite ample evidence to the contrary. Looking at the initiatives that have the potential for positive impact, Bill 17 proposes to eliminate certain zoning restrictions, specifically as they apply to school construction, portable allowance, and 4-story townhomes. This measure permits not only more housing to accommodate more people, but also increasing stable community hubs like schools that encourage well-resourced communities to build up all around and should be acknowledged as a fruitful step forward towards developing vibrant neighbourhoods. And it is of the utmost importance that we create the conditions necessary to build and repair schools. Seacourt Elementary School, which you will recall from my speech a few hours ago on the budget, is a great school in beautiful Beaches, East York. It was number 4 on the list for project-ready capital funding with the TDSB, and it is in desperate need of a new school to replace its aging Porta-Pack portable system, the oldest and the largest in the TDSB system. It's often in that area of Main and Danforth is actually oftentimes it's the number 1 place new immigrants land when they first come to Toronto. And they are welcomed with a school where they are stuffed into boxes, basically, with horrible air quality and no hope in sight of any improvements, thanks to this government. Furthermore, I support the bill's introduction of constraints on the authority of the Building Materials Evaluation Commission in cases meant to encourage Canadian-made products and innovative materials, as outlined in Schedule 1. It is a timely strategy in a period when we definitely need to prioritize Canadian-made products and stimulate the Canadian economy. I hope that mass timber construction and the allowance of CLT, cross-laminated timber products, in construction are mightily welcomed. Ontario has been lagging behind other jurisdictions on this front for years. As well, I hope that panelized builds are as much of a preference as modular housing. Both types of construction should be valued due to their efficiency, sustainability, and cost-effectiveness. Come for a tour in my riding if you want to see a funky panelized building. Coxwell and Queen. Despite this, do you need a map? Despite this step forward, it is important to consider the other schedules in this bill that may have a potentially mitigating impact on innovative materials integration. In Schedule 3 and 7, Bill 17 disincentivizes developers and discredits authority from municipalities to create bylaws that would bolster use of innovative materials, especially in the green standards and regulations aligned with urban design. Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, this bill fails to facilitate long-term impact in certain instances, specifically with regard to affordable housing, major operating savings for homeowners and builders, and the lack of local consultation. While the government frames the bill as a solution to Ontario's housing crisis, boldly proclaiming this bill as a rejection of the status quo that stifles growth and slows down progress, in many instances it will further alienate people from the residential market, deny homeowners and developers significant savings and rebates, prevent the creation of more climate-resilient infrastructure, and stifle municipal and local consultation. The government emphasizes that green development standards are not eliminated. They are still available to developers who choose to use them. While on paper this may be the case, in practice this bill effectively kills green development standards all across Ontario. The bill's entry on the Environmental Registry of Ontario details items that municipalities will be prohibited from requiring as part of a developer's complete application. Some of these include considerations of the impact of the proposed development on wind conditions in surrounding areas, lighting and lighting levels on the site, and urban design elements, which would address how a proposed development may align with municipal guidelines and provide for environmental standards to be imposed. The ERO's entry for Bill 17 claims to have a neutral expected impact on the environment, as key studies would be identified in official plans or permitted by regulation. However, Efficiency Canada found that Ontario lacks timelines for achieving net zero energy-ready buildings by 2030 and has failed to adopt a tiered code that could accelerate the update of energy-efficient buildings. Quelle surprise. If the green development standards are the primary source of achieving these energy efficiency goals, how would this legislation, which bars municipalities from implementing these standards unless they ask the minister for permission, have a neutral impact on the environment? Furthermore, Bill 17 stipulates that the minister must approve changes to official plans. The municipality's autonomy is further implicated by the bill's creation of a proscribed list of studies and prohibited list of studies that the municipality may request to be included in a complete application. These lists are mentioned in the ERO with little elaboration on what they may include. It is disingenuous to ask the public and key experts for their feedback on the proposed legislation when they are not privy to the whole picture. Additionally, regulation is more malleable to change at the will of a new government or a new minister. Despite claiming this act, if passed, will help usher in certainty to the construction process, there is nothing certain about these regulations. Take, for example, Minister Clark's, former Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing's comments around the green standards back in 2023 when Bill 23, the More Homes Built Faster Act 2022, was put forward. The minister at the time clarified, and I quote, "It was not the intention of the government through Bill 23 to prevent municipalities from using site plan control to promote green standards. I also wish to clarify that aspects of the green standards that are not brought into Ontario's building code because they do not involve building construction.
Bravo, bravo.
Will continue to be option standards that can be required through municipal bylaw and implemented through site plan control." And consolidating green standards into the Ontario Building Code, he said, "We plan to work with interested municipalities and other stakeholders on transition certain green building standards related to building construction into the Ontario Building Code. This will be achieved through an interim building code amendment by the summer of 2023. This comes in stark contrast to Bill 17, which creates strict rules based on ministerial discretion around what reports can and cannot be asked for and what regulations can and cannot be enforced by municipalities. Moreover, the building code amendment of the summer of 2023 never came. These comments from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing at the time vastly different with the changing philosophy of the minister occupying that position currently. This underscores the dangers of vague legislation and regulations that are not spelled out at the outset and their ability to increase confusion, especially where ministers may change over the course of multi-year projects, contrary to the bill's stated purpose, which we've seen many times in this chamber, I might add. Importantly, municipal bylaws that the bill alludes to, specifically green development standards, are not in contrast to the provincial building code because the green standards do not prescribe construction standards. Rather, they are intended as a complementary feature that introduces outcomes-based asks with flexibility on how to achieve them. For example, where the building code may prescribe specific window types or wood products that must be used, the green standards of Caledon ask that using the resources provided, implemented at least 2 measures to increase resilience to climate-related impacts in the areas of basement flooding, high wind, or extreme heat. How a developer chooses to achieve this end is up to them. See how much flexibility there is? Municipal representatives, as the experts and advocates for their local communities, are stripped of their ability to create regulation that would augment the framework for building that the provincial code was intended to provide. These municipal regulations are key to tailoring developments to the distinct needs and priorities of the community. Relatedly, Bill 17 demands municipalities defer to the minister to amend official plans of municipal developments and mandates that municipalities must accept materials if they are provided by prescribed professionals. Not only does the bill negate the ability for municipalities to act in accordance with their community priorities regarding the development, but the power to make decisions that intimately impacts a municipality now lies with the provincial official or prescribed professionals who are deemed fit using criteria currently unbeknownst to us. When municipalities are now required to get approval from the provincial minister for amendments to the official plans, developers now have no incentive to pursue these steps, seeing as the government would hold the power to promote or reject regulations under this legislation. The same government that repeatedly tried to repeal environmental protections, whether through the Greenbelt or now, as we are seeing it, in Bill 5. The potential that they would actually approve a municipal request to implement green standards on a project seems highly questionable. Bill 17 misplaces blame in removing the ability of municipalities to make regulations such as the Toronto Green Standard, despite Bill 17 toting building homes faster and making them more affordable as the purpose of the bill. Housing starts have not been affected by the green standards. Notably, in 2023, Toronto exceeded its housing target by 51%, with approximately 96 of housing starts adhering to the Toronto Green Standard. Did you hear that? No, you didn't, because you're not listening. Moreover, this provision will limit the ability of municipalities to address important aspects of urban design, such as flood protection, air quality, and your favorite topic of all times, climate change. Without these considerations, homes in Ontario will lack certain efficiencies, and as a result, homeowners will pay higher operating costs, and homeowners and developers will lose out on significant rebates such as Toronto's Development Charge Refund Program, which has delivered almost $120 million in refunds back to developers and adds comfort and emergency preparedness. We're getting short on time, so I'm going to have to skip a few things, but that is okay because you're not paying attention anyways. Okay. Well, I just want to tell you, maybe to get your attention, that I'm going to tell you, with the green standards, okay, want me to tell you who supported the green standards? Ellis Dawn. Anyone ever heard of Ellis Dawn? Yes. Yes. Ellis Dawn supported the green standards, stating, "We strongly support the adoption of the Toronto Green Standard version 4 and request the city move forward and with stronger incentives for projects that meet the ambitious Tier 2 and 3 requirements." Can you believe that? Ellis Dawn is asking for the green standards. You know who else is? Minto, Tribute, Tridel. Look at all these great developers who get it because it saves them money. Might be a little bit more costly on the outlay, but then they save money, the homeowner saves money, your residents are happy, your area is producing fewer greenhouse gases and is sustainable. Here we are, the Minto supported the green standards, stating, "On behalf of Minto, I would like to express our appreciation to the City of Toronto for the implementation of the Toronto Green Standards and express our support for the continuation and future enhancement." There we go. We also have other communities across Ontario with green standards. Halton Hills. Put up your hand or yell out if you hear your riding. Halton Hills, Hamilton, Oakville, Caledon, Brampton, Mississauga, King, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Toronto, Aurora, Markham, Stouffville, Newmarket, East Gwillimbury, Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Clarington, and later I'll read you former Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing's letter. And here's the kicker, the final kicker. Hold your breath. The Premier, the now Premier, former Toronto City Councillor, voted yes for the Toronto Green Standards, along with another amazing, spunky and funky City Councillor named Mary-Margaret McMahon. We were on the same page in fighting for sustainability. So, if you live in these areas, you have a lot of explaining to do to your communities because they fought hard to have the green development standards, and they do not hold up housing at all. They have not held up housing starts. That is patently false. And your Premier, your leader of your party, supports Toronto Green Standards and Green Development Standards right across Ontario. The proof is in the pudding. I have the vote here for you if you'd like to go take a trip down memory lane. I'm sure he still feels that way. All right. And I will give you also, yes, the Toronto Atmospheric Fund can give you the straight facts on the Green Development Standards. If anyone would like a 101 on that, we can add a bit of time. But come and see me later to find out more as to why it's very important that Ontario does not go backwards, we just go forwards. So remove that section from this Bill 17 and possibly we may be able to support it.
Questions? Questions? Question? I recognize the member from Sudbury.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you to my colleague from Beaches East York. One of the things I like about us all being members from across the province, that opportunity to get to know other ridings, and Sudbury's not very similar to Beaches East York, but I have been there a couple of times. When it comes to housing, ownership or rental property, what are some things that may be unique to Beaches East York, and what are some things that may be similar to other places in the province?
The member for Beaches East York.
Thank you very much to the amazing member for Sudbury. Let me know when you're in my riding again. Well, if you've been to beautiful Beaches East York, you know that it's like a small town down by the water. It's like a seaside resort where you have different styles of housing. You have a lot of rentals down by fourplexes and sixplexes down by the water. You have laneway suites. Thank you to myself for spearheading that policy at the City of Toronto. And with a team, of course. And then you have more high-rises further up when you get closer to the subways, where we want transit-oriented communities. We have high-rises and single-family detached homes and semi-detaches and co-ops. The whole gamut. Thanks.
Question, the member for Orleans.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to my colleague from the beach for her passionate presentation tonight and her advocacy on the environment. You know, as she quite rightly pointed out, not only did the Premier vote in favour of the Toronto Green Standard while he was a City Councillor, I'm led to believe that he actually chaired the committee that marshalled it through City Council and led the way to push the Toronto Green Standard forward. Now, I know there is much more French spoken in Orleans than there is in the beach, but in Orleans we have a mot en français for that. It's called le flip, le flop. And so I'm wondering if the member from the beach can discuss the important point of maintaining some consistency when we talk about green initiatives and helping homeowners reduce their home energy consumption.
The member for Beaches East York.
Thank you very much. And I will borrow that word, le flip, le flop, backwards and forwards, whatever it is. What I want to say is, obviously, the Premier believed in sustainability. And if you see the Premier, what you see is what you get. He is very candid and wears his heart on his sleeve, and he is very frank. And so I believe if he voted for this, since he voted for the Toronto Green Standards, and it was a unanimous vote, by the way, no one voted against it. There were 34 people voting for it, no one against it, a few absences. He believed in it then in 2013, and I know he wants to work well with Ontarians and developers who also believed in it, and many residents. Saves people money, which I know this government wants to be fiscally responsible.
Question? I recognize the member for Essex.
Yeah, I've reviewed this legislation. There's nothing in this legislation that prohibits anybody from building a greener home. But on the topic of development charges, this Act, what it will do is require the deferment of development charges until such time as an occupancy permit is issued by the municipality, which is something that the town of Amherstburg already does. I'm very proud of that because that's my hometown. The town of Amherstburg is a very forward-looking town. I think this is a very positive thing for the province to be legislating because it's actually very onerous for a home builder to pay upfront a fee for which he gets no service in return immediately. So that is better deferred until such time as the homeowner sells the home and receives payment and then can pay the fee.
Question?
I think that's a good idea. I invite the member to comment one way or another.
The member for Beaches East York.
Well, what I would say is, because you were whispering so much, I could barely hear you, but I think I heard you. And that is, you were referring to development charges. And if you recall, it was the Liberals who proposed scrapping development charges for middle-class home buyers, and you did not pick that up, or you did not support that at the time. Definitely we want to get shovels in the ground, but all this back and forthing with these bills and flip-flopping is wasting people's time. And as you know, time is money for a developer. And it's quite disrespectful, actually. So, you know, to borrow a line from Billy Joel's song, and I could sing it if you want me to, but get it right the first time. That's the main thing. Okay? I would encourage your government to do that.
Question? I recognize the member for Thunder Bay, Superior North.
Thank you, and thank you to the member from Beaches East York. I know you spoke a fair bit about the green standards, and there's been, you know, the government is saying that they're not going to lower standards, but it does sound like that those green standards that are in place in Toronto are at risk. Could you please clarify that for me?
The member for East York Beaches.
Yeah, so Toronto staff, city staff, councillors, the mayor at the time, the community, working with developers, there's the difference with this government, working with people and working with people ahead of time before drafting up motions and policies and legislation, working with them. Everyone saw the benefit in making your homes more energy efficient. And why? Because it adds more comfort. It reduces greenhouse gases, and it saves people money. It's a win-win-win. Nothing wrong with that, so why get rid of it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And we are in a climate emergency.
Question. I recognize the member from the Bay of Quinte.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member from Beaches East York for your very thoughtful debate tonight. And I really appreciate the walk down memory lane and some of the great things that you brought forward, and you've given us a lot to think about. But I have to say that the most striking element of what you presented for us tonight, to me, was the uncanny impression that you did of our government House Leader, Mr. Clark. I'm just wondering, do you have any other impressions in your repertoire, and would you be willing to give us a sampling of some of those tonight?
The member from Beaches East York.
Well, if we're considering this an open mic night, well, you know, I respect everyone in here deeply, and I know we're all here because we love our communities, we love people, and we want to serve, and we want to make the world a better place, and I think we're all trying to do that. Maybe we have different ideas of policies, but I know that you're going to support me and preserve the green development standards in Ontario. Thank you in advance.
A very quick question and response. Question. I recognize the member from Guelph.
Oh, thank you, Speaker. Quick question for the member from Beaches East York. Why do you think the current Premier, when he was serving as a city councillor, voted for green building standards and is now seemingly opposed to green building standards?
The member for Beaches East York.
Well, you know, the Premier is fiscally responsible, so I know that he understands that he can save residents' money, Ontarians' money, by supporting green development standards. I think maybe, possibly, he has a lot of things on his mind right now, and he seemed to slip his mind that he voted for the Toronto Green Standards wholeheartedly, unanimously, and was proud of that vote. So I will just remind him in a friendly manner tomorrow.